So let's select the red cutting mask and duplicate that. So Control and D, because I'm going to do two path operations, first on the grey and then on the green, which is underneath there. Hold Shift and select the grey loop, and then go to path and intersection. And now I'll just show you what we've got. Just move that mask out of the way. So this is what we've produced with the first intersection. We've still got the original loop underneath, so do Control Z to put it back, Control Z again to put the red cutting mask back in. So select the red mask again, hold the Shift key down to select the green loop, and this time we're going to do path and we're going to do difference. So now what we end up with is the loop split into two pieces, which is what we were aiming for. Control Z twice. So now we can do the final cuts to our design, which give the typical Celtic art weave effect, or under and over. So I'll be cutting small gaps here and here, and also with this boomerang shape interleaving with the loop. So we've done a lot of work here, so as you can see there are unsaved changes, so I'll do Control and S. So that's saved our work so far. So now I'm going to begin cutting the gaps in the design. So the first thing I'm going to do is duplicate the half loop as it is now. There you go, Control Z. So I do Control and D to duplicate it. I'm going to turn that a dark grey so that we know it's a duplication. And I'm going to zoom in to this junction here. Just push into the centre. And now I'm going to get the Bezier tool and draw a box around these two paths. So just click at the corners of my little box, and when we get to the beginning it goes red. I don't want to fill on this, but I do want an outline, so we'll give it a red outline. Hold the Shift key down. It's got a red outline which is far too big, so I'll go to Stroke Style in the Fill and Stroke box and make that 0.5, and then I'll turn the fill off just by clicking this X here. So now we've got a box there, so get the Select tool, hold down the Shift key and click on the dark grey half loop, and now we go again to Path and Intersection, and we end up with this rectangle, and the grey copy of the green loop has disappeared. We don't need that anymore. What I want to do now is expand this to create the ability to make gaps in this grey loop path here. So there are 2 or 3 ways of doing this. My preferred method is to give it a stroke. So I'll give it a yellow stroke, hold the Shift key down and click on that, and that's given a stroke width of 16.8, etc. So I'll highlight that in the Fill and Stroke palette and change that to 3. We'll see how that looks. And yes, I think that will be fine. Now I'm going to use this value over and over. So I'm going to highlight it and copy it. Could do Control C for a keyboard shortcut, so next time I come to use that I'll just paste it in there. Now the next step I need to do is go to Path and Stroke to Path, which the keyboard shortcut is Control Alt C. The reason I'm repeating these keyboard shortcuts is that I'm going to be doing this operation several times, so rather than keep pointing at menus, I'm going to use the keyboard shortcuts to speed things up. So do Stroke to Path. Now I want to do Break Apart, which is Shift, Control and K. So that fills in the part where the fill was, if you like. And now I want to unify them into one block. So I go to Path, Union. Now, there are two parts to this grey path, so I'm going to have to do two cuts. So before I go any further, I'm going to duplicate this yellow block. So I do Control and D. Now I hold the Shift key down and click on the grey part and do Path and Difference, and the keyboard shortcut for that is Control and minus. And let's just check and see. We didn't need the second copy because that is a unified path. I'd forgotten about that, my apologies. So I can delete that yellow there. If I zoom out, you can see we're beginning to get the effect that we're looking for. So I'm going to do the same with this grey path, which, because it's gone apparently underneath the green path, it's now the turn of the grey path to go over the top of the next path, which is the pink boomerang. So I'll click on the grey path, duplicate that, Control and D. Let's make that a different colour. Let's make it dark blue. Zoom in, get the Bezier tool and draw a box around there. Don't need a fill, so just click on the X here and make that 0.5. It doesn't really matter, but it just makes it easier. And make the stroke red, just for making it visually easy. Get the select tool, hold down the Shift key and select the dark blue loop path. And we'll go to Path, Intersection, that's Control and asterisk. And now we want to give that a stroke again, so I'll give it a yellow stroke, hold down the Shift key, click the yellow. We copied the value of the previous stroke, so I'm going to do Control and V for Victor. Hit enter. And now, once more, we go to Path, Stroke to Path, Control Alt C. And then we go to Path and Break Apart, Shift, Control and K. And then we go to Path and Union. Now I hold the Shift key down, click on the path that we want to cut away, which is the pink boomerang, and do Path, Difference. So we have a nice uniform gap in that as well. So I'm going to repeat this here. This time the pink boomerang is the path that needs to go on top. So I need to cut away the green loop path. So I'll click on the pink boomerang, make sure it's selected, duplicate it, Control D. Let's turn it a different colour. We'll use dark blue again. Draw a box around the two path intersections or junction. Get the Bezier tool. And 0.5. Make it a red path. Hold the Shift key down and click red. Don't need a fill, so just click the X to remove the fill. Get the select tool, hold the Shift key down and click the path that we want to cut. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry, hold the Shift key down and select the path that we want to use as the cutter, as it were. And then we can do Control, Shift and asterisk, and that was, as you remember, path intersection. I need to give that a stroke now, so hold down the Shift key, click yellow, make the stroke 3, so Control and V to paste back in the value we used on the others. And now I need to convert that to a path, so that's Control, Alt and C. Now I need to break it apart, Control, Shift and K. And now I need to unify it, which is Control, Shift and plus. And now if I hold the Shift key down and select the path I want to cut, which is the green loop, I can do Control, Shift and minus, and we have our gap there now. So if I just zoom out, you can see we have completed a quarter of our graphic. So in the next part I will be producing 3 copies of this and assembling them into one complete graphic. So next I'm going to combine all these different elements into a single path. So I'll drag a rubber band around it, click and hold the left mouse button and drag a rectangle around them, and now I'll go to path and union, and they will all change the same colour. I'll change that to a mid-grey. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this and rotate it about the centre where these cross guides intersect. So I'll click it again with the select tool. This is its current centre of rotation. If I grab the rotation handle, you can see that. If I undo that, Control and Z, make sure I've got the snapping enabled, which it is not at the moment. So click on that and I'll just zoom in a touch. So if I grab this cross here, which indicates the centre of rotation, and move it up here, it snaps helpfully onto the intersecting guides. Zoom out. Now I duplicate that, and you note that I moved the centre of rotation before I duplicated it. That means that the duplicated path will have the same centre of rotation here. So Control and D, let's change the colour of it, then we can see what's happening. And we can use this rotate through 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Zoom out a bit. So that's one. I need to duplicate this pink path again, Control and D. Let's make that green. and rotate again. Duplicate the green path, Control and D. Let's make that blue, and finally rotate it again, and we have our completed artwork, and it just remains to apply fill colours to it and give it a background. Now, one thing to note is in the original quadrant we did 1, 2, 3 path intersection procedures, which involved quite a few keyboard shortcuts, probably 4 or 5 per operation, so let's call it 4, so that's 12 operations to produce these 3 weave effects, and we have 48 in total because we've got 4 of these all around here. So by cutting the original path into a quarter and just working on that quarter, we've saved ourselves an awful lot of work in not having to repeat that all the way around here, and also saved the possibility of making any errors as we repeat steps that we've done in the first one. Now, for the last part of this video, I'm going to apply a radial fill to each of the 4 quadrants. So I'll select the grey one first, and we've got the fill and stroke palette open here. At the moment it's got a flat colour fill, so you can see this square around here. So I'll click on the radial gradient, and it defaults to its original colour fading out to transparent. So if I click on this pencil icon here, we can edit the fill. So first of all, I'm going to rotate these handles around, and get them at the 9 o'clock position. I'm also going to move the central point out a little bit and extend these further, and I've accidentally moved all of it there. I don't know how that happened. There we go. Now I'm going to edit the colours. So for this one here, I'm going to choose a loop colour, and for the centre I'm going to use light green, like that. I think I'll perhaps move it out a little further to there. That looks okay. Now I'll go back to the select tool and do the same on this one. So I'll click on the radial fill and click on the pencil, rotate these around so that they're in the 8:30 position. Just move that out there so it's consistent with the other one. Stretch these out to the edge of the path, and for the centre I'm going to choose the reverse, so I'll choose blue. Somehow it's clicked off that. Let's try that again. and for the outside we'll choose green. Let me rotate those around again because we lost it, and I'll move that out there. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same to the opposite quadrants. So I'll click on that one and choose radio fill, and then I'm going to apply the same one I've just used. There. It needs a little bit of adjustment, so I'll click on the pencil, zoom in there a bit and move that out there. And there we are. And I've just realised I've used the wrong gradient for that one. I'll go back and edit that. And we'll choose that one. That's better. And the final one, move that accidentally. Apply a radial and get the edit. And then rotate these around. And just move that so that it's the same as the other three. So that's the effect that I was looking for. And finally, I want to deal with these junctions here. But before I do that, I'm going to give the whole graphic a stroke. Let me first get rid of this guide box. I really don't need that anymore, so I'll just click on that and delete it. So I'll drag a selection band all the way around them to get them all selected, and then I'll go to stroke paint, sorry, give it a stroke, and it's far too big, so we'll need to adjust the size of that. I'll try 0.5, and that looks fine. So having done that, we've got these junctions here between blue and green at several places in the image. So next I'm going to disguise those junctions so that we get a nicely blended image.